What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Grit. I've been looking forward to this one all afternoon, waiting for Kyle to get here. So I've got Kyle Hunt from Renovations on the Rise in the studio today. And I was introduced to Kyle from Ed Bushkowski, who I had originally met in SiriusNet. So Steve, there's your shout out for SiriusNet for the week. So I met Ed through SiriusNet and was able to reconnect and do some work one-on-one with Ed. And he kept on telling me, you got to meet my coach, my business coach. You got to meet my business coach, Kyle. And he finally got us together, and that's what it's all about. I love working with people. That's one of my favorite things is the community and the connections that get built. And it didn't take me long. Kyle came down into my office and we sat and had a conversation. It was like, you've got to come on the podcast. You're going to be on Coffee and Grit. And so I'm super excited to dive into this conversation.
All right, I had to mention two things.
Yeah.
One, remodelers.
But
don't edit that. Don't edit that. Number two, it's Ed's birthday today.
It's Ed's birthday today.
So you might want to.
Oh my God. I've got like a list of really awesome people that it's their birthdays today.
Yes, so it's his birthday today.
Awesome.
I had a meeting with him this morning and brought donuts.
Okay.
So I took there. And then the third one, you made it sound like I was late. I've been waiting all afternoon for Kyle. It was 3:01. But you made the audience and the listeners think that I had you waiting and you just were looking
he kept
at the
on
clock.
calling me and telling me he's going to be late.
42 seconds late. Jeez. All right, but other than that, the intro was beautiful.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those things, I saw it on the calendar at the beginning of the week. And so it's one of those things I look forward to because, we only had the one conversation and it was a couple months ago now. Yeah. And so I'm excited to dive in more. You put the cameras on and you make it sweat it. You sweat it out. So welcome to Loudmouth Studio.
Is that what it's called?
Loudmouth, yeah.
Loudmouth Studio Coffee and Grit Podcast.
So my company is called Roar Consulting, and there was a lot that went into like the whole lion and the roar. But the big thing is I've been told my whole entire life, your voice is too loud. Can you be quiet? Can you talk in your 1-foot voice? Can you shh, shh, shh? My biggest pet peeve growing up was when someone would shush me. And if you wanted me to get louder, the number one way to do that would be if you shushed me. And when my wife met me and she shushed me for the first time, she watched my voice.
I've never heard your 1-foot voice.
As a kid growing up in school, the teachers would tell you
the phrase. I've never heard 1-foot voice, meaning like talk quiet enough where
they can only hear you from 1 foot.
Okay.
Yep. So a teacher would leave the room and she'd come back and be like, Jason, in your 1-foot voice, So I'm like, you know what? And when I started my business, I was about to start my business. I was at a networking event and I was in this loud chamber of commerce. It was in a restaurant, but it was super loud. It was like as everybody's talking and they're trying to get everybody to sit down and eat and listen to the speakers talk. And so they're trying to get everybody to sit down and I'm just going at it talking. And there's this older gentleman, he's like in his 80s, comes across the room and I make eye contact with him. He comes over and he puts his hand on my shoulder and he said, son, I was all the way over in that corner in this really loud room. And he was like, I just wanted to come over here and tell you that your voice is a gift from God. You need to share it with as many people as possible. And I thought I was going to get, you need to control that's what I've been got my whole life. He's like, your voice is a gift from God. You need to share it with as many people as possible. And I was like, wow. And so when I was writing my reasons of like, what my why and like what's going to keep me moving when shit's hitting the fan and all that kind of stuff, what's going to keep me moving, that was one of the things. It's like, you know what, it's a roar. It's something that I've tried to dim down my whole entire life, and it's actually a roar. And I had a whole thing with Lions anyway, and Detroit Lions fan and all that kind of stuff, but that roar, I can call my people, my difference making people will hear me from miles and miles away.
All right.
And so I started making the studio with Kevin, and he was like, hey, I had this idea. He's like, I don't know what you think about it. He's like, but we're both kind of loudmouths. He's like, what if we just called it Loudmouth Studio? And I'm like, sold. I'm in. My wife hated it, but I was like, I don't know. She's like, nobody likes a loudmouth. I'm like, I know, but it's just kind of who we are. We're both loud. And I'm like, the reason why he blew up is because he's loud and he says what he wants.
Okay.
And so it fits him.
And now you know the rest of the story. As who would say?
I love a Paul Harvey face. Right?
Back in the day, my dad, I think it was for Christmas, I grew up in 1990, Ford F-150 is what he had, big red, and then he had the Ranger, we call it Little Red, but WJR, 100% of the time on, and I remember finding old Paul Harvey, like, rest of the stories, and I burned them onto a CD for Christmas one year, and he's like, what is this? I said, I pirated some Paul Harvey classics, and by then he had a CD player in his vehicle, so Gotta love Paul Harvey. Grew up on that.
Me too. There's nobody knows that anymore. Like, so when you said it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a great conversation.
Well, that's what happens when you get some people, and I don't know. I turned 43 a couple months ago, so
Okay.
I like our generation. Like I don't know how old you are.
I'm 47. I just turned 47 a couple days ago.
Okay.
A couple months ago.
But it just feels like now that I'm kind of looking at it, it's like, all right, I did not have a cell phone until I graduated high school.
Yep.
Computer, dial-ups, but like adolescent years, there was none of that. Okay, we had TV, we had some computer games and stuff. So we're just the last generation that got to listen to Paul Harvey, some of that slower stuff.
We're really the coolest generation when you think about it, because we're old enough to remember before, but we're young enough to like be able to master the new stuff. You know, we're not like our parents and my mom's pretty good at technology, but like, we're not like our parents that are hold the phone and like, what's this?
Did you just preface that because you think she might listen to this podcast? You didn't want to insult her?
No, no, she probably would listen to the podcast, but no. She's just technically, I was in the cell phone industry before I started my business. I was in the cell phone industry. And so my mom and my grandma both, you know, just from me like pushing phones on them for all the years, got good with technology.
Okay. Cool.
So, yeah. But man, Kyle, from remodelers on the rise and not renovations on the rise. What is up? How are you?
I'm doing well. Now, when people ask that question, I usually answer it quite honestly. Usually people will just go, I'm good. Yeah. And then you move on to the next thing. I make it a point that if somebody says, how you doing? Like I actually usually pause and think, now that's being recorded. So I'm kind of like, well, how transparent do we want to get?
Yeah.
So I'm doing well. In the here and now, I just talked to my wife who had a wonderful day. She's a worship director at Cornerstone EPC in Brighton, and she had a great day. So that was just a minute ago. Dealing with a couple challenges, opportunities with two of our kids right now. Little kids, little problems. Big kids, bigger problems. So if I'm going to be transparent, that's been a little heavy on my mind today. I just had a great meeting with the Elevate Peer Group, which is one of my peer groups that I run. We just had a great meeting. It's been an overall productive day. So I am doing good. But if I were to think about it a little bit, I'm doing great.
Think about it.
Need to finish some mulch tonight. Got a graduation party coming up for our newly minted high school graduate. And most people will say, you don't have that many yards. 55 yards of mulch, people. 55 yards of mulch. And I think we're probably about 43 of those yards are laid. So I think we're going to finish it off tonight.
Wow.
That's a lot of yards.
That's a lot of yards.
One of my buddies said, if you have a heaping wheelbarrow full of mulch, 7 of those equals 1 yard.
Okay. Wow.
So 7 times 55, whatever that is. Wow. That's a lot of wheelbarrows.
That's a lot of mulch.
Yes, it is. The guy that we bought the house from, it's beautiful in the backyard because it's in a neighborhood, but it's probably like 30 feet wide. And he kind of was going for an up north feel. So the mulch is a little wild. We'll not do it again for another 4 years until the next graduation party.
It's every 4-year thing. It's like when when Detroit gets the Super Bowl, you know, like everything gets done.
Oh, yeah, like they do that every 4 years. Wait, are you a Lions fan? I don't think they've ever been there, sir.
No. So the Lions don't get play in the Super Bowl, but Detroit got awarded the Super Bowl, and then they had to make all these improvements, and then they just stayed there.
They might actually make the Super Bowl.
They might.
Year. Who knows?
They might. I've been saying that I drink the Kool-Aid every year, and so I think every year is their chance.
Could be.
Yeah. So how did you get here? How did you find this company, your company? How did you start that?
Always been entrepreneurial. Going back to the adolescence we were just talking about, I took a website design course class in high school. Learned kind of HTML. They had HTML back then, and kind of learned how that worked. I had always collected baseball cards as a kid, and those two things kind of married up probably my sophomore year of high school, where I'm like, oh, that's how websites work. Oh, this internet thing, like you can buy baseball cards online and you can sell baseball cards online. And I turned that new interest into my first business called MajorLeagueCards.com. And bought a domain name, figured out how website hosting worked, and got a P.O. box. Shout out P.O. Box 162, Tecumseh, Michigan. Grew up down in Tecumseh. And super interestingly, I just learned a lot about business through even that venture of how do you market it. I'm just sitting down there typing up, 1990 tops, Ken Griffey Jr. in different columns and adding that in and understanding how the payment works and then getting an order through and then packaging it up and mailing it out. And, I didn't make a ton, probably, a few $100s a month type thing, but I
Yeah.
learned a lot about business, a lot about customer service, and just got that itch scratched a little bit of like, oh, I like this business thing. I like this entrepreneurial thing. Kind of fast forward, did some different entrepreneurial things, and graduated college from Western Michigan University with a finance degree and kind of a business degree. And right when I was graduating my senior year, I guess that last semester, senior year, I kind of did another entrepreneurial thing, and I created this thing called Track the Team, where I basically created spreadsheets in high school for my baseball coach. Shout out Carl Harsh. Who knows? Who knows if he's
Who
going
knows
to
who's
see
listening?
this? We're
Yeah.
Facebook friends. And created these spreadsheets that basically track the team statistics. Entered in, Kyle pitched 4 innings of obviously shutout ball, 17 strikeouts. He struck out everybody. And it just tallied everything up. So I sent out to 500 high schools in Michigan, to the baseball coach and the softball coach. Hey, I have this thing called Track the Team. I'm a student at Western. If you are needing to figure out how to track your team statistics, you can buy this for $79. Let me know. So I mailed that out. Another just kind of entrepreneurial side hustle. A guy named Jim Long, who owns Long Kitchen and Bath Design in Northville, owns Long Plumbing, Long Mechanical, Long Kitchen and Bath Design. He bought it, had a question on getting it to work, and answered that question for him. And he said, "Hey, we're looking to create this position in our remodeling company to somebody to handle kind of our marketing, our advertising, and manage all of that." And I said, "Sir, you're talking about me here. Like I'm doing the website stuff. I'm actually just graduating in a couple months. I'd love to sit down and talk about it." And went to his country club, whooped his butt in golf. I don't know what the final score was, but none of this crap of like letting the potential new boss win. We're not going to roll like that. That would be ridiculous. And at the end of that, it was just a really good fit. So I have no remodeling experience. My grandpa was a contractor and a builder. My other grandpa was a painter, so it's kind of in my blood. My dad painted with his dad a ton. But as far as swinging the hammer goes, I don't have a lot of that. But through entrepreneurial this, that, and the other, I started working for a remodeling company, handling the marketing, advertising, started managing the showroom and the 4 designers, get involved in the financial side. And 3 or 4 years into that, I said to my wife, "Honey, we got one kid, another one on the way. It's a crappy economy, 2008, 2009, Michigan. We got no money in the bank. I want to quit my job and start my own business."
Sounds like a great idea.
Yes. And of course, she's like, "Oh, of course, honey. That sounds like a wonderful idea." There's been some revisionist history, in my opinion, on how she handled that. But to her credit, I think she knew I was kind of an entrepreneur, and ended up kind of weaning myself off my employer. Kind of, "Hey, can I go down to 4 days a week, 3 days a week?" They were very generous and kind of allowing me to do that. Wasn't making a ton of money, so I didn't have a ton to kind of replace, and just started poking away at the business side. So I started just kind of offering marketing help to any small business. I actually became a duct tape marketing coach, invested to become a duct tape marketing coach. So had a book called Duct Tape Marketing, Simple, Practical, Proven Marketing. And shortly after I started my business, I took some of my own medicine of don't be all things to all people. I am going to put my flag in the ground, and I help remodeling companies, and started speaking at different home builder associations around the state, and picked up a couple clients in Lansing and Bay City and Ann Arbor and Grand Rapids, and really haven't looked back since.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
First off, just the
Oh,
power.
was that too long of a story?
No, I love it. And you summed it up really well. You went through your history pretty quick. It was like, this impressive. Like now we're here. But what's so awesome is it's just the power of doing. There's so many times people will like read the books and they'll get stuck on like, what if this doesn't work out? But then you're going out and you're doing this thing, and offering this service, and you would have no clue, no way to even set the goal that I'm going to get a job out of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say for people listening in that realm of, just try some stuff. Stop thinking about it. Who knows if it's like, everything that I've done has not been super high risk. Like I think I was making $43,000 a year. Like, and one of my mentors, I remember him, shout out Jeff McCauley. Remember a conversation I had with him. He goes, just so you know, another baby's on the way, mortgage coming, this, that, and the other. It is going to get harder and harder for you to take the leap. So if you're feeling the nudge and you're kind of ready to go and they're willing to work for you with you on weaning you off,
When's a better
take
time?
the jump. So there's that, and yeah, you just never know. You never know what is going to lead. Now, I think it's pretty providential that this happened and that happened. Like I see
Yep.
kind of God's handiwork in my life and in
Absolutely.
that side of things. But yes, it was also for me doing. Like I remember putting stamps and labels on those 500 stinking things to high schools and softball, and I think I probably made a total of $624 on that after I counted. I made a little bit of money for a lot of work. But all of a sudden, that led to a path that led to me being a coach for remodelers. What in the world? How's that happen? And it sure beats like what I was kind of going towards. I don't know. I guess I'll just get a banking job and kind of see where that
Yeah.
takes me. But this allowed me to kind of move in the entrepreneurial way. I was also young enough and naive enough to think, this is going to be easy. I'll walk in the park. I don't know how long it's going to take me to be a millionaire, but maybe 2 months? This is going to be so easy. New clients, everybody's going to love me.
taking
It's going to be
candy from
so
babies.
easy. So luckily, I didn't know what I didn't know as well of how hard being an entrepreneur is.
So at what point did you wake up and say, "Oh crap"?
Yeah. I don't know if I ever said, I never, there was one time a couple of years in where a headhunter randomly called me, and they randomly called me at like my lowest point.
Yep.
And so that was a good barometer of like, all right, let me step back. Like, how is this going? But I never really doubted it. Never had like oh crap. I would say early on, definitely in the first year, where it was like, oh crap, I got 6 days left in the month. I need another $800. How's this gonna work? So there was definitely a lot of stress. There was definitely a few months in of going, oh, this is what actually working feels like. Like this is like you are coasting at your job. You're productive. You're getting things done.
Yeah.
But like, no, there's work to be done. Like, and even last night, my son was coming up. He's doing student painters, and he came in and he was lamenting a little bit to my wife and I of like, this is so much work. Like, on TikTok, they're like, be your own boss, and you got control of everything. I'm being my own boss, and I'm working 12-hour days, and this is hard. And I was already kind of sleeping. I was listening halfway. My wife was running most of the conversation. I'm just kind of smirking, and she's like, "Thomas, your dad's business owner. The last thing he did before he went to bed tonight is knock out a few emails and close it. The early tomorrow morning, he's going to have a to-do list. I've never gotten to the end of my to-do list. It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And but I personally think from the get-go, it wasn't because I watched some film or watched some what did we have back then? DVD. I didn't rent some DVD when I was 10 or even watch TikToks. Like, I am built to be a business owner. I love it. I love the creation of it. I love the stress and the workload of it. And not everybody is cut out from that.
Yeah.
Some people are great number twos, number threes. So it takes a special kind of craziness, I guess, to have the audacity to run this thing.
That's what I love. And you're just my people, because it does. There are certain people that are going to worry more, or like, this stuff. And I say the oh crap because we all get those times where it's like, oh, I got to make this $800 gap. And how do I do that? And, you lose a little bit of sleep and stuff like that. But I love that challenge. Like, to me, that's like, all right, let's go. Like, now I'm even more motivated. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. At the same time, that one thing I've tried very hard on, and I'll pat myself on the back a little bit. Like I've worked hard at keeping parameters and keeping boundaries and I work hard, and I've worked hard over the years, but I've definitely tried hard not to be a business owner that it affected my marriage and my role as a father. Like, okay, trying not to travel too much, or okay, there's an opportunity to speak. No, I'm gonna turn that down just over the years. So working hard to do that. That doesn't mean once the kids go to bed that the computer doesn't get fired up and whatnot. But it takes a lot of tenacity to build a business, and it takes a lot of hard work to make sure it doesn't run your life. One quote that I really like is, and I'm gonna probably butcher it, but success in business does not make up for failure at home. And you have to rightly order your life. And if the business is owning you and controlling you, something needs to change. Now, sometimes there's seasons in life, and sometimes it's like the business is running our life, and I get it, and it's a season, and we got to lock down, and we got to grow. But if you just keep stacking that season after that season after that season, there's going to be ramifications for that and problems with that.
It's the sacrifice you make. And you look at Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is super successful, but what was his family life like? What was his, and we know, but like, that didn't turn out well. He didn't give it the proper balance. He didn't give that same equal investment as he did his business.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that. And you gotta be careful with that.
Yeah. Oh, because the success is great, but then, man, when you're dying and your family's not around and, nobody cares, like, wow, that's a lot different, huh?
Yeah. Jesus, getting kind of serious.
Yeah, no, we're kidding. But it's so true, though, because you do got to pick your balance. And it's so easy. And I'm so glad you brought it up, because it's so easy as entrepreneurs, especially because this is our addiction. This is something that we were meant to do. This is something that gets us super excited. It can be really easy to sit and work all night.
Yeah.
There's stuff that I do, even coming down to editing video, that I love doing, and so it's easy to keep doing that. But like, I started my business because I wanted to have that flexibility. I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be able to coach my kids' sports. I wanted to be able to, not miss anything.
Yep.
And it's keeping that reminder and knowing I've got to keep these priorities and these core values in order to make sure that this continues to happen. Or you turn that season into, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
It turns into the habits.
Yeah, and that could be a problem.
Okay, it's a huge problem. If you don't care about your family or having a family life, I guess it's not a problem. If the success in your business is all that you care about, then good for you. You probably, hopefully you're successful. Because if that's bad, then
yeah. But is that successful?
Is it successful?
What is success?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you gotta tell me now, how do you plug in and you work with your clients? Because I love that you just asked that, like, what is success? I have to imagine you're like kind of determining that.
Yeah, I would say one thing I started taking a little bit more. So who's listening to this podcast? Do you think business owners?
Business owners.
A lot of business owners.
Yep.
So I would say one of the things that if you would have asked me 10 years ago, 8 years ago, hey, what do you think of core values, Kyle, and like mission statements and whatnot? I think I'd kind of be like, fine. Like, typically I see a lot of work that goes into them, and then nobody really does anything with them, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Over the last, let's say 5 or 6 years, I would say, especially the core values in particular, they do matter. What do you and your business actually stand for? So in our case, Remodelers on the Rise, RISE. See what we did there? R, results. I, improve. S, serve. E, engage. And it's been super interesting as I've got that like sitting in my office, and my team's got that in their office. That first year, especially, as we're thinking through things, should we do this? Should we try that? Should we ask that? Should we do that? And we just kind of ran it through our core values, and now it's become kind of a habit. And that has been huge for it. So as far as you asked, kind of how we approach success for our clients is kind of the direction we're going with there. I say we kind of run it through that. So how do we drive results for our clients? How do we help them improve? How do we serve them generously? How do we make sure we engage? And engage for us is kind of leaning into hard conversations, making sure that we're addressing the root cause of things. So all of our clients are remodeling business owners. So most are off the tools now. They've got a business. They've got that has a team. They're doing a lot of the sales side, the marketing side, some project management, managing the overall team. Certainly they get their hands dirty from time to time. They're doing kitchens, bathrooms, additions, and that type of work. So I've always approached the coaching side from a little bit more holistic approach. There's people that occasionally over the years have reached out, and it's just like, it's all about financial results and this and that. I love to improve financials, but I love to ask questions as they're introducing themselves. I'm getting to know them. Let's say it's a gentleman, and I might say, "Hey, so it's cute that everything you tell me about your business. If your wife was sitting right here, who's kind of lived through this for the last 10 years, what would she say about the business?" And just starting to lean in towards like, what does work-life balance look like? Is this business controlling you? If so, why is it controlling you? If so, what can we do to change that? Some of my best coaching is helping people rein in in their business and get in control of their business. So that's what success could look like. Sometimes it is a remodeler who's working their face off and not making hardly any money because they don't understand their financials. They don't have an accurate profit and loss statement. They're not doing their job costing. They're undercharging. They're not paying attention to any of that. And to walk them through financials and give them clarity and these light bulb moments, success there is, for the first time in your business, you truly understand your financials and you are making changes to make sure that all of the time and effort and energy you're putting into this business is actually worth it. So a lot around financial success, a lot around making them fall in love a little bit with marketing and sales, and realize that being a salesperson is not kind of a thing, and recognizing that, hey, as you grow your business, your marketing and sales side becomes more and more important, making sure they're not shooting from the hip on the sales process, but that they have a structured approach. That's what success looks like. And then as I start working with remodelers over the course of years, so much of it comes into, a little bit of where are you trying to take this and how do we get there, but a lot around leadership. Leadership is an area that we start to pick up the pieces of how it works and how to do this well, but there's so much growth that can happen when somebody goes from, I'm not a really good leader to, I love leadership. And I love making sure that the people around me, whether it's my trades out there, whether it's my employees in-house, are loving what they do. There's a whole world of improvement and challenge that goes into that.
I love that light bulb because it happened for me. I was in sales. I got promoted to leadership, and there was a crossroads where I got to a point where it was like, maybe I should just go back into sales. You know, like there's this guy beating me that shouldn't be beating me because I've got to put my time into my people and develop them, and it's just not working out. And I don't know if I really like it. And then I got to this crossroads of realizing that I wasn't doing it right. One. But two, like from a sales standpoint, this poor sales guy that would beat me every month, his month would start over again. And he'd have to perform over and over and over again. I'm like, man, that's a vicious cycle to have to go. Versus leadership, like, my month resets, but the work I'm putting in to develop my people is compound.
Yeah.
And like, as we keep developing, keep moving, keep developing, keep leading, the results start growing and changing. And then it's not like my results are just changing every month. Like the impact of what I get to look back and see around. And when you're talking about your clients, for example, the thing I'm thinking about, and I'm sure you see it, is like, wow, how much changes in their life. Because you're not talking about just business. You're talking about their personal life too.
Yes.
By you working with them, and it's not an ego thing, but like how much changes in their life.
I mean, it depends. Some of my favorite work is working with companies that are a little earlier in the process because the impact kind of multiplies in that case. At the same time, I have clients who are quite established and have a lot of the pieces in place, and it's a little bit more tweaking this, tweaking that. It's not quite as exciting, but still is exciting. I don't know. I rarely get interviewed like this.
Yeah.
I have done hundreds of podcasts where I'm interviewing, and I think naturally I kind of don't love to toot my horn too much or like talk about, some of my clients love to say, so how's your business doing, Kyle? And I'm like, well, it's going pretty well, and that type of thing. So it's interesting to kind of reflect on. It does feel a little ego-y to kind of talk about like, what's the impact you make? But I've been working hard at this, and doggone it, there should be some impact that clients are having. I don't know. I point to a guy like Stu Kavner who didn't have a good sales process or understand his financials, and we start talking about the sales process, and I'm like, so when are you typically meeting with folks? Well, most everybody wants to meet in the evenings. So like I'm missing things. I'm missing some ball games. Like my family's understandable and and like, hey, that you don't have to do that. Oh yeah, I know, Kyle, you don't understand. I do. Like in my market, yeah, you do. So okay, how about this? Pick a day of the week, Tuesdays. You do 2 evening appointments on Tuesdays. And once those 2 are done, you do no more evening appointments. When you are booking an appointment, you say, I do evening appointments on Tuesdays and Tuesdays only. I have 2 appointments. This week, the following week are already booked, so we could look 3 weeks out. Or I have a lot of availability near the start or the middle or the end of days. And shut your mouth and say that. And he practices it and he starts doing it and it goes That's working. It's working. Turns out if you set up some boundaries, if you elegantly lead people, they will follow you. And he went from like, oh, I just have to do this, which means the family dynamic's off, which means his role as a husband and dad is off, to holy cow, this is good. So like the impact of that, the impact of I am super stressed about money to holy crap, we're making money. Those types of impacts are sometimes immeasurable. And what I love about coaching is when you can fix something in the here and now, yes, it helps you this month and next month and the following, but the multiplying effect of you just fix that for next year and next year and next year. And dude, you're 35 and you're going to be doing this for another, 20, 30 years, Lord willing. Like, hello, this is amazing. So, I don't know. I love the challenge of continuing to find ways to deliver value and being challenged with that. And love meeting new remodelers and kind of getting to know their story. And it's fun to be it's fun. So the core value of serve is coming into my head as I'm talking into this microphone and thinking of the person that's looking here. And I'm thinking, okay, there's business owners listening to here. So my mind continues to go back to how do I serve that person? Being a generalist versus a specialist. Being a generalist, you got a wider net that you're serving. You tighten up that net and you start to really get clear with your ideal client and become a specialist. Specialists get paid more. Specialists are more attractive. When a remodeler reaches out to me, they're reaching out to me because they've listened to hopefully dozens and dozens of my podcasts. I have gone deep into a very narrow niche. I am a specialist. If my child was sick and had a heart issue, I would not take them to a general doctor. I would take them to a heart surgeon. And you look around, the more specialized you can get, the more valuable you can get. So, but that's also scary. When I put my flag in the ground and said, hey, out of these 100 businesses that I could serve, I want to serve 2 of them. It's a scary thing, but it is a huge unlock in marketing, in sales, in attracting your ideal client, in repelling your non-ideal client. So as I'm talking about my story and he's asking me questions, there's a little business advice for some of the business owners listening.
This is huge.
Of like, hey, maybe what you need to do is specialize even more.
Especially when you're first starting out, you think I can serve everybody. Like when I started my coaching business, I can help everybody sell better. I can help, and yeah, that's true to a point. But one, how do you then go and find those people? Because there's so many, you can help anybody. I had a client that was a chiropractor. We can help anybody with a spine. True. Who do you love helping? Who lights you up? Like, what's your story? Like, why'd you start doing it? And let's really find those core clients that we can speak into, because how do you find everybody with a spine? Like, how do you resonate with somebody to spend their money and do care with you just because they have a spine? You got to really lock in and understand it. And we get locked into that scarcity mindset of like, I've got to help everybody. I've got to serve everybody, because if I tell them no, then I'm going to lose that business. I'm not going to be able to make that money. When you lock in to a very 2%, right? 2% of the 100, business all of a sudden gets bigger, and it's crazy. Yeah, and the message gets through. And it doesn't mean you have to change it overnight. Like I still was working with a variety of kind of businesses, but now I updated my business name at that time. I started creating content around that. And all of a sudden, when I reach out to a home builder association that has a bunch of my ideal clients, hey, I work with remodelers and contractors, and I help them with their marketing. I have, my 10 marketing tips. I would love free of charge to come to one of your evening appointments and do my presentation and deliver some value to your folks. Like go to, in that case, it was Remodel Your Marketing was the business name. And all of a sudden, like, oh, he specializes in this. Being a generalist is just it's a harder route to go. So I bet you there's somebody listening to this that was exactly what they needed to hear. I'm sure. My eye doctor is in Brighton, and I remember a few years ago walking out and I noticed the office right next door is like a brain neurologist doctor. And I'm like, oh, they don't advertise very well. I didn't even know that was here. And then a few months later, I'm reading this article about the Detroit Lions, and one of their players had a concussion, and they talked about how they sent him to the specialty center in Brighton, Michigan, and how this place is the world-renowned athletes, NFL players from all over the country come to this place in Brighton next to my eye doctor to come, and so they don't have to advertise. I don't know who they are because I'm not
their ideal client.
I'm not their ideal client. But their ideal client out in California knows who they are, all the way out in Brighton, Michigan. And so that's how that works.
Yeah, there's great power in that. Yeah, no doubt about it.
So, man, you overcome that that kind of scarcity of like, I'm going to go into this 2%. Then you start creating your social media and getting it out there. What happens then?
I would say a nice, steady, slow slog of steady growth and improvement. I'd say the first 10, like some year, my business is graduating high school because the aforementioned,
Let's go.
we were pregnant with
Yeah.
Piper, and she is graduating. She's actually graduated now. So probably the first 10 years, I was very careful with risk and whatnot. I had a stay-at-home wife, and we wanted to kind of keep it that way. And we had 2 kids and then 3 kids. I was very risk adverse as far as investing a lot into the business, and kind of as my business grew, it was important for it to grow because we just had expenses and like diapers and this and that and the other. So it was just a very slow and steady. I'm a pretty safe business owner, especially the first 10 or 12 years. I have to be careful of that in my coaching because sometimes I'm talking to people with different risk tolerance and different approaches. So for me, it was slow and steady. The story of my business is slow and steady wins the race, in particular for the first 12, 14 years, I would say. Just a lot of one-on-one coaching, a lot of building my email list one person at a time, a lot of putting out a podcast pretty consistently, not weekly, but pretty consistently, starting a free Facebook group called Remodelers Community, and starting it by inviting 20 people that I was friends with that are remodelers, and that's up to 2,500 people now. So just very slow and steady, and I think a slow and steady growth in business probably strengthens the business. It's not the only way that you can go. And then the business kind of got to the point where, all right, it's solid. It's been consistent, nice, slow growth curve, experimenting with different offerings, thinking, okay, I need to kind of leverage my time a little bit and do some group-based stuff and this and that. And started doing some group-based stuff, did my first in-person event, kind of building that up. 8 years ago, hired 8 or 7. Where is she? Where's Bailey? Bailey, my right hand. She's not even in here.
She's not even here.
6, I think 7 years. 7 years, which was her 7-year anniversary here recently. Hired her, which was a huge step. And like, okay, I truly have kind of a right hand to help me take some weight off and load off. I say, and so just nice and steady, improving, learning, improving, building value. I approach business very much from, I want to give. If we market and you truly give true value to your ideal client. Let me repeat that. If you approach marketing from a standpoint, I feel like I need to talk to the people.
Yeah.
Is that camera on? Or is that camera on? Flip to that camera. Hit number 3.
Hit number 3.
Hey, right, you. Hey, you there. And then flip back. Hey, you there. Okay.
Love it.
I mean, he's got quite a setup in here, folks.
I love how you have me doing things. That's amazing.
Yes. Actually, I think, was it my wife? Who was I talking to earlier? One of them said, Kyle, he's going to run the podcast. You're not in charge. And here I am wrestling with you a little bit.
You're like, hit the buttons, hit the buttons.
But
I love
if you approach marketing, if you approach your content creation, if you approach what you email out to people from is this actually of value to my ideal client, that will help in the long term. It's not flashy. It's not that. That is the story of my business. I have figured out who my ideal client is, and I have steadily provided value to them. Marketing is getting someone who has a need, in my case, a remodeling business owner, to know, like, and trust you. And over time, when I provide value and, hey, here's a template for this. Here's something that you can try out. Hey, when you think about this, next time you do your sales process, try this. But Kyle, you're giving away some of your coaching. Yep. And the more coaching I gave away, the more people raise their hand and go, hey, I've actually been helped by the podcast and the stuff I listen to in your Facebook group and your emails that you send out every week. I want to know more about your coaching. And that's been my approach to business. And it's a really fun way to approach business. It's not salesy. It's not slimy. It's not trying to trick them into reaching out and opting into this. Provide value. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Yep. But it's very interesting because there's a lot of coaches and consultants that pop up in my industry. And I approach business from a standpoint of there's plenty of work out there for all of us. I think that's also a mindset that's good.
Yep.
And I've had 18-year head start. So good luck. Good luck.
Yeah.
Like I wish you the best. And if you want to chat, I'm happy to chat with you. But that's slow and steady. I feel like I've got a foundation. I've been trying to do it brick by brick. So as a business owner, like don't undersell the idea of, you know what? I met somebody new. I added them to my email list. I created a great piece of content. I had 4 people like that. Over time, the consistency of that will pay off.
It's like if you've seen the movie Any Given Sunday with Al Pacino, it's like all the inches around us. It's like all the inches. It's all the little inches around us. That's all it takes.
Was that your Al Pacino?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a horrible Al Pacino.
I feel like you could have done better.
I probably could have did way better.
You want to try it again?
It's all the inches around. I don't know. I'm not very good at voices. I'm not very good at impersonations. Yeah,
really, we didn't know that after listening to that.
It's never been my jam.
Okay,
I'm always me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Or loudmouth, some would say. I don't think you're that loud. I think you're perfectly. I'm loud too, though. And then over the last number of years, it was probably when was it? 3, maybe 4 years ago, I was in a mastermind group of other coaches and consultants in the industry, and we're having just kind of our annual in-person retreat. And been in this group for 4 or 5 years. And I told my wife, Sarah, before I left, I said, I'm going to come back with my 5-year vision. I've been fiddling around with it. Am I just going to continue doing what I'm doing and just kind of iterate it a little bit? Am I going to grow this business? What do I want to do here? And went out there, ended up getting sick right when we landed. So I stayed in the basement of the Airbnb and they video conferenced me into the main floor. So that was kind of funny. But I came back from that with a very clear 5-year vision of, okay, I'm going to do this. And as a business owner, I think getting clear with, I like 5 years. I think it's far enough out where you can't get immediately tactical with what you're going to do. I think going out further than that just feels super pie in the sky. Not that there's not a place for a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, but the 5-year felt pretty good for me. And what I decided to do is said, okay, I love these peer groups that I'm running where I'm getting together non-compete remodelers from around the country. I'm going to run 2 of them, going back to, I'm not going to run 6 of them myself and travel all over the place. I'm going to run my 2, and I'm going to start a 3rd one this year that is not run by me.
Wow.
Shout out Peter Rainey, one of my longtime clients. He was our first Remodelers on the Rise coach. He's a remodeler himself with an interest in coaching, and I reached out to him and said, hey, I would love for you to lead one of these peer groups. Would you be up for it? We worked all that out. And the 5-year goal was to add more of these. So when you get clear with your vision of where you're trying to take the business, and then you start moving it back to kind of that year, and then you kind of break it down to that quarter, for me, it's what's really allowed me to grow my business over the last 3 years. And it's been exciting. My wife, before I left for that, I don't remember her saying this, but sometimes I don't listen very closely when she talks. But she said, well, I already knew you were going to do this. And I said, well, she goes, I told you before you left, you're going to grow the business. You're going to choose to grow the business because you love building it. You love the challenge of it. It's going to unlock a bunch of new, interesting things. You're going to be able to serve more clients. You're going to want to grow this business. And I'm like, maybe. But what we have right now is actually kind of good. Like, we're making good money. I'm not super stressed. We're serving clients. Like, it doesn't have to grow, but it has been a really fun kind of next chapter in the business. But as a business owner, we have the ability to choose what we want to make this thing.
That is so awesome, because I'm behind you in the years, and I was talking to you when you came in. You asked how things were going. And it's like a lot is going on, and like I started these boot camps, or this boot camp, about 1.5 years ago, in just putting in the work, the consistency, and doing the things, and now it's like taking off. But it's then the last 12-week cohort that ended, and people were like crying, upset, like, I don't want to go. I want to keep going. I need to. People were saying, I need to keep doing something like this. So I formed out a mastermind. And like, my point is, like, the other day, it's like, how many of these can I actually do? And at what point does it make sense to bring in somebody else that can do it? Because I think there's going to be a lot of demand. However, how do you find that right person? And like, so that's really cool, listening to how you had somebody that literally went through the program that ended up being your.
And I would almost encourage you of going, okay, yes, there's opportunity abound in this, and even if it doesn't exactly roll out this way, for you to go, all right, here's what I want this to look like in 5 years, or let me just play with this version of it. Number of clients you're serving, number of groups you're doing, and that type of thing, why you're doing it, why you want to grow it, some of the why behind it. And then you kind of work that back and go, oh, well, maybe I just want 2 of these groups and I would be ecstatic with that. And let me just kind of simplify this. There's all kinds of different approaches. And that's where we as business owners, we have probably 90% of our time is spent doing our business, doing our work in the business, if you will. 10% of our time is on the business, I would argue. And in that 10% of on the business time, we're trying to do like 10 different things. And we've got a bunch of half-finished things, half-finished ideas. Take an idea and drive it to completion. One completed thing is better than 50 half-completed things. And the vision thing, when you get clear with here's where you are right now in your business, here's where you want to go. Get clear with where you want to go, and then you can kind of work back from there. Everything for me and for my clients too, everything gets a lot clearer when that happens. And it doesn't mean it's not going to shift. And you've seen those things on social media where it's like, what we thought our business is going to be, we're going to start here and we're going to go right here. And then like it shows the up and down and blah, 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 blah. Welcome to entrepreneurship, folks. But I mean, so that vision thing, kind of thinking of my journey, that was a huge moment of, okay, I'm going to do this. And it hasn't rolled out exactly like timing wise and whatnot, but that doesn't matter. It's moving definitely in that direction. It's challenged us for new processes, new SOPs. We brought on a new full-time employee. We have 3 of these peer group leaders now with a 4th group coming pretty soon. It's been fun.
I love this, and I think this ties in really well too with what you were talking about earlier, is like the core values, and of course, there's a lot of companies that put the core values on the wall and they couldn't even name them and that kind of thing. But when you're literally using it as like your compass, because there's in this as well, your vision, understanding where you want to go, because it's not about the timeline or the expectation of what it's all going to look perfectly to that vision and that kind of thing. But it's just moving it forward.
Yes. And because if you're not, like for me, I was just kind of lollygagging around like, oh, business grew a little bit. Yep, everything's good. But I was kind of coasting and going, well, I don't know if I want to add another group.
Yeah.
I mean, if I add a group and it's not being led by me, that opens up a whole nother can of worms. And so I'd go down that road of thought and then I kind of just come back. And then I kind of think about it and then I kind of come back. And I just did that for a few years. Again, not a bad thing. But once I got more strategic and kind of led the conversation instead of kind of riding the waves going back and forth, that's when things started to happen. So from a business owner standpoint, I also think for people listening to this, you gonna do that, camera?
There you go.
For business owners listening to this, we're in this entrepreneurial fog a lot of times, and we're just traveling through it and we're just getting through the day and we got this and we got that. It comes at us fast and we get done with the day and go, oh, I didn't get this and this done, but I got that and that done and I moved the ball forward. I mean, that mindset is huge. That entrepreneurial fog, we need to step back from it a little bit and go, okay, how am I doing? How is the business? Is it supporting the life that I am trying to lead? If not, why? If yes, why? What needs to change? We need to step back and look honestly at our businesses. And I'm telling you, if you get clear with getting fired up about a clear vision, business gets a lot more fun as well. And some people listening to this need to step back and get some fun injected into their business, get clear with the vision, get renewed focus, renewed energy, because entrepreneurship is stinking hard.
But to your point, it's not as hard. And even when I asked you the question is, when did you wake up and be like, oh no, or however I phrased it, it isn't like that for you, even though it is hard and even though you have your bad days, because you have that clear vision. And what I was trying to get at is like that, it's that compass, right? And so there's so many distractions. There's so many ways of doing things and programs and systems and new things you can sign up for and new tools. And you can
Have you heard of this AI thing?
Have you ever heard of this AI thing? Yeah, it's it's coming around. I've heard a little bit about it. Yeah. So there's so much. There's so many programs you can sign up for, and so much. And there's so many decisions we got to make as a business owner, and we can go down the wrong rabbit holes and waste a lot of time and money really, really quickly. But if you have an understanding of what your vision, you can now does this program that they want me to invest in, does this make sense? Will it help me get to here? And if it doesn't, then it's not, why are you going to do it?
Yeah, I like that. I think I've been probably more aware over the last 2 years. My wife has mentioned I might have ADD.
It's so funny.
Do you have that? Do you have your?
Well, you were talking. I was like, and the problem is we all have ADD.
While I was talking, you thought I had it?
No, well, because as you're describing and you're talking about this stuff, I'm like, and the problem is we all have ADD. And so because if you're an entrepreneur, it's like kind of our superpower.
I would say the high price. Yeah,
I remember I had this client, he's like,
right.
Yeah, I don't know if I should start a business. I have ADD. And I was like, he's like, I think it might be a distraction. I'm like, dude, all of us do.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, I don't know if you're going to survive.
Yeah. So there's definitely, I'd say over the last 2 years, I've been much more aware. My wife does say it. He's like, yeah, you have that, but it's also your superpower. It's how you kind of juggle and manage everything.
Yeah.
As business owners or even employees, there is so much distraction, and it is so easy to get lost down this rabbit trail, get stuck on social media, start scrolling, and then all of a sudden 40 minutes has gone by. Start actually focused working on something, and then your text goes off. Start working on something, and then you drift off and see your inbox, and you go, oh, I wonder what that is.
Oh.
I don't care.
At my house yesterday?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's whether you have ADD or not.
Yeah.
We live in a world of crazy distraction.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Maybe one of the best skills a business person can have in 2026 is the ability to actually focus for 30 minutes at a time. Not 2 hours at a time, not 4 hour block of I'm going to work on my estimates for 4 hours. Good. No, that's a terrible goal. Terrible goal. 30 minutes focused in, locked in, cocoon mode, I call it. Put your phone in do not disturb. Put inbox pause on Gmail, like cocoon mode, 30 minutes. And then take a 10-minute break. I have been working much more diligently on trying to focus in smaller buckets. We do a weird thing at Remodelers on the Rise. Bailey and Cassie on my team and I hop on Zoom, and because one's in Chicago, one's in Fort Wayne, one's in Michigan. We got world headquarters in Brighton, and then we've got Illinois headquarters and Indiana headquarters. And there's this program called FocusMate. If you go to focusmate.com, you literally get into kind of a Zoom-like room, and hey, my name is Kyle. For the next 30 minutes, I'm going to work on this. Hey, my name is Johnny. I'm going to work on this. And you have the videos on, and you just work for 30 minutes. And there's some kind of psychological thing that happens where you stay focused on the thing that you intended to stay focused on. And we have Tackle It Tuesday. We have Rock It Wednesday, meaning our quarterly rock through EOS on Wednesdays. We have Focus Mate Friday. There's 3 times during the week that the 3 of us hop on Zoom and say, all right, Put a countdown clock on 10 minutes. What are you going to work on, Bailey, for the next 10 minutes? Cassie, me, and we just have the videos on. We get more stinking work done during those focus sessions, and we all admit it. And it's a terrible thing to admit to your boss. Wait, so when we're not doing this, you guys aren't focused? What's going on here? Psychologically, that works. Whatever. We need to focus more. We need to limit distractions. You want to look into AI? Cute.
Yep.
You get 2 hours a week. No more. And preferably do it in your off hours. You got plenty of work to be working on during your work day. Like, we've got to set up some guardrails. And I'm not great at it, but the more I am aware of it and self-aware of it, the more I seem to be working on the $1,000 an hour work instead of the $10 an hour work.
And you mentioned up sales before, right? And I think the easy thing is that is very crucial when you get into business that you can avoid is sales, because it's hard, it's uncomfortable. You're doing the things where you're having the conversations, where you're making the calls and all that kind of thing. It can be so easy to start focusing on AI or social media and doing some things that are maybe not moving the needle as quick because it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it puts you in a safety zone. But
what's the clip? It's from Mad TV. Can't remember the guy's name, but he sits down he's a psychologist, and this lady comes in, and she got referred to him, and he explains like, hey, my sessions usually last about 5 minutes, and she's like, oh, cool, and he goes, I charge $5. Oh, this is great. Okay, cool. So go ahead, yeah. And she starts talking about her problems. Well, in my childhood, and he's talking about this, and he asks some questions. And a couple minutes, he goes, okay, I think I have some feedback for you. She gets out a piece of paper. Should I write it down? And he goes, I mean, you can. Most people know what, they remember it. And she's talking about all our ills and problems. And he goes, all right, you ready? She goes, yeah. And he goes, stop it. Ooh, that was loudmouth. And she's like, what? He goes, stop it. And that's the whole skit. And it goes back and forth.
Bob Newhart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bob Newhart skit. Stop it. And for entrepreneurs, like, stop it. you have a lot of work to do. And your inability to say so many things, your inability to say no to that prospect you shouldn't have chased just screwed up your evening with your family. How do you feel now? You literally stop it.
Stop it.
You're not willing to change how you approach your work. So you're stressed in the mornings. Stop it. Do something different. Because I'm so easily distracted and I have ADD or I have this or that. Stop it. Figure out what works. Get on Zoom with 2 of your employees and put a countdown clock for 15 minutes and fix it. Try some things. Do some things. You've been an entrepreneur for years and years, and you just think this is how it's going to be. You work 16-hour days. Stop it. Go get a job and get your life back if that's the case, or fix some things. We can absolutely do that. And so this idea of distraction, this idea of hopelessness in your business, like we can do this. We can fix things one little piece at a time. And it matters because business has a way of creeping into every orifice. Haven't used that word in a long time. Every orifice of your life if you let it. You got to be careful. That goes back to kind of, I guess, the start of what I was saying earlier.
Well, because we don't have, here's my entrepreneur business self, and then here's my husband and my, my dad self, and we're all ourself. And so that business, that day carries over into when you get home.
Yeah. It's work-life balance. Some people are like, work-life balance. I did hear a phrase from a colleague of mine years ago of work-life integration. Work-life integration. As sometimes I pick up the kids on Monday from school and usually on Fridays at 1, and like kind of designed it around that. And sometimes I'm like, I got to stop. I got to go pick them up. And then I'm like, this is cool. If I was working for Long Kitchen and Bath Design in Northville, I have a 50-minute drive into work on I-90 stinking 6, and like not being able to do this, that, like there's so much cool stuff that can happen from being an entrepreneur, but we have to be very thoughtful in designing it and purposeful in how we approach it. And maybe that means, hey, this year I'm going to invest in an assistant. I'm going to make a little bit less money, but I'm going to free up some of my stress and is this Coffee and Grit podcast? Is this what you look for? Am I?
Oh, you're on. Yeah.
I was worried. I was worried because I'm not in control of it. I haven't listened to all the Coffee and Grit podcasts. I'm hoping it's serving the people listening.
So control is important to you.
Turns out, I would say, I was just having this conversation with a client in Pennsylvania yesterday. He is desperately understaffed. He is an absolute monster of a business owner. He gets the work done of 4 people. Has a right-hand person who's also really good. They really need to hire 2 people. And he just hired somebody. That person was 8 minutes late the first day, but brought flowers. Interesting. And showed up late on day 3. He was ready, already just like, get out of here. And started, I'm getting to know him pretty well, and he is detailed, he is excellent, and he's a beast at business. And I remember when I brought on my first employee, Bailey, I did some online job, Philippine stuff and different things before that. But I remember wanting to review everything she was doing. Hey, before you send that email out, I need to see that. I need to see that. I need to see that. And over time, as that trust built, and also as I grew as a leader, it's like, Kyle, if you want to actually grow this business, have work-life decent balance, not have your inbox flooded with stuff, you are going to have to train that person and be okay if it's only 90% as good as what you would do it. Or don't do that and go back, shrink your business up a little bit, and control everything. And I remember giving myself that coaching. And once I started releasing the reins a little bit and recognizing that, okay, I don't have to control everything and everything has to be perfect, but I'm also not going to carry the world of my business on my shoulders. I'm going to let people do their thing. And it also turns out if you hire good people, they do it better than you. Who'd have thunk it?
I just interviewed this young man today, and I'm like, I'm all about teaching, but what I'm really looking for is someone to fill the gaps of what I don't know, the stuff that I'm putting so much time into learning, like, so if you can come in and, like, that's what, like, I want you to have an opinion. I want you to have a vision. I want you to bring your talent here.
Yeah. And as business owners, we also need to pay attention to our capacity. It is one of my favorite words. One of my favorite words is really look at, honestly, for you and your team members, how is your capacity? And there's times where you might look at it and go, I literally could work another 30 hours a week and maybe I would feel caught up. That's the reality sometimes of entrepreneurship. Yeah. But it's interesting to try to calculate that. Like if you literally had another 20 hours a week, would you then catch up. If that's in the 20, 30, 40, 50 range, something needs to change because you're letting clients down. You're not being proactive. You're not serving your clients well. What needs to change? But it's also super interesting to talk capacity with your team members. It was a few years ago, and Bailey probably will listen to this, but I've told this story publicly, even though I'm going to throw her under the bus a little bit, but I'm just going to get like that. I was like, what in the world? Like, how did my Bailey, who's like superstar, you didn't do that? Like, what? I saw that little mistake, and then I'm like, wait, you didn't follow up with that person? Like, what's going on? I'm like, what in the world is going on with my ace here? And because she's a great employee, she didn't want to admit that she was overwhelmed with stuff and was over capacity. And then me, as my knucklehead leadership, didn't foresee it happening. I'm like, crap. So we had a nice, frank discussion. She's like, look, I'm just juggling a lot right now. And it was like, hit the brakes. All right, that project we were talking about, nope, you're not touching that at all. This here, I know we talked about it being kind of important 3 weeks ago. Given the situation, let's just put that in the parking lot. Great idea. Don't need to do anything with it right now. Parking lot. Let's talk. We're going to meet every 2 days about your capacity until we get it under control. And wouldn't you know it, as we did that, she was probably able to go, and her performance went back to normal. And it really taught me I have to pay very close attention to the capacity of my team members. And kindly to me, I need to pay attention to my capacity and be careful not to take on too much. Again, vision. Again, paying attention to your business strategy. Again, making sure work-life balance is decent, making sure it's not owning you. Maybe that's the theme of I feel like that's kind of a theme that's popping out of these different areas that we're kind of going down of plan. I just take control too much, man. Now I'm coming up with a title for the podcast. But that's not my job here.
Well,
my job is to answer the questions this lovely man's asking me.
From the moment you started talking, like, it's so funny. I think we're kind of aligned on this. Is like, I'm thinking freedom, right?
Like
not being owned. You said not being owned. I'm thinking like the freedom is, because if you're a business owner and you're doing the things right, you do have the freedom. Because really, if you're thinking about it as a business owner, you're not starting a business because you want more work. You're starting a business because you want freedom.
That's a good statement. Now, I rarely use the word freedom when I think of my business. I do believe that, when we think, going back to the origin story of why you started your business, that's a good exercise to think through. And that definitely, like, for me, it was a little bit more freedom to get to create what I want. Not necessarily right? So maybe if that freedom of that side of things.
Freedom can be from the freedom of being able to create what you want. The freedom to bring your visions to life. Freedom to be able to take a vacation when you want. Freedom to be able to coach your kids' sports or be able to be a dad and be able to have your work-life balance. Because when you're working for somebody, my wife worked at a car dealership. She didn't have work-life balance. She didn't, she missed so many things on the weekend. So she had Sundays off, but every Saturday when all the events were going on, she had to work. And she wasn't saying like, oh, well, I have an event today. And they're like, oh, go ahead and go to the event. No, she had to start her own business to do that.
And that vision and that balance and the freedom that you can have. I like that. One of my clients a few years ago, I was challenging him to grow his business. I'm like, hey, you've been here incrementally growing for a while. I know you're making good money. I know you're not working your face off. But don't you want to grow? Don't you want to grow? And he's like, nope. And I said, And then he used this other word. I had said capacity is one of my favorite words. There's another C word. And he used this word called contentment. Contentment? What in the world is contentment? And I learned a lot from that conversation. This is probably 6 years ago or so. Time flies. And I remember thinking, I think this guy's got it figured out a little more than me, right? We want to keep that fire burning. We're entrepreneurs, like it's in us. But oh, baby, once you reach a certain amount of success, once maybe even the financial side, it's like I remember dreaming years ago of like, oh, once I make that amount, then everything will be great. Oh, that moved. Oh, once I'm saving for the kids' college, once we're putting good money away in retirement, once this happens, we just keep chasing and moving the deal. It's important to be financially stable. Why, though? Is it just so that I can make more money? Is it so that I can give more money and be generous? That's a little better way of going about it. It's a little more righteous. Is that really where my heart is on it? Is that why I want to grow? There's all kinds of good wrestling there. That's a whole nother podcast, by the way. But, this word contentment. what does freedom look like in the realm of I truly, truly want my business to actually support this life that I want to have, and I want to be kind of content. I want to be able to spend time doing this. I want to be able to serve in my church for that. I want to be able to sit down with a younger guy that I'm mentoring on a Friday at 9 o'clock and not even rush out because I got things under control. Oh, contentment, freedom, all kinds of good words, capacity, vision. Kind of an ADD. It's kind of an ADD list of things.
It's ping pong. I know. And again, the ADD stuff. Yeah, I do think about stuff because like you're painting pictures, right? And have you ever heard the story about the man in the boat? Like the man sitting on the boat fishing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the guy
It's
was
that,
on
right?
vacation,
The business guy is like, oh, you can start a business fishing. And
Yes.
like, yeah, it's that whole thing. He was content fishing because at the end of the day, he catches a bunch of fish. He goes out and has a barbecue with his family and his friends. And like, he's content doing that.
Why did you respond to my word contentment like that? Just for podcast drama sake, or because you're kind of like, oh, that is a word. That is a chase.
I have so when I think of contentment, I don't usually think of it as in a positive term. There's a lot of people that are just content. And they could have a problem, and they're sitting on it. Like there's another story about a dog sitting on a needle. And it's just like howling, sitting there howling, but not moving.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've never. What you just described to me is a little bit more like apathy. Like whatever. It's where I'm at, and it's just my lot in life. I've always thought of contentment in a positive light.
I think it's so easy to just grow into content. Like you look at the like good to great, for example.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things that keep people good as great's worst enemy. You're content at good.
Yeah.
You're content at good.
Yeah.
The McDonald brothers, they were content with owning one hamburger restaurant in town. It took Ray Kroc coming along and being like, wait a minute, this could be in every town in America, right? And we could own the real estate too.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie, by the way?
I've seen clips of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good movie. My favorite part is in the bathroom scene. And the McDonald, it happened. So it's real life, right? And I don't know if this scene happened. It might have been elevated for drama, but like the McDonald brothers come into the bathroom and Ray Kroc's in there, and Ray Kroc just won this lawsuit, and he was like, they're like, you stole from us, like you ruined our lives. And he's like, did I really ruin your lives? He's like, what would you have had if I wouldn't have come along? He was like, now we have all of this.
Yeah.
Did I really ruin your life, or did I change your life?
Yeah. But what I love about business is that the guy that I described who's content, he's truly, I will almost put like content and at peace. He's at peace. He's got
great.
Right. So one thing that I like to push back against sometimes when I hear it of like, I'll get a client a prospect that reaches out to me, and they'll go, "Well, I'm doing $900,000 right now. I've kind of been growing it. I'm kind of on the smaller side of the remodeling side, but I want to grow this thing to 20 million. And I've been doing this long enough that when I hear that, that's usually not a healthy goal. It's more like, I just want to grow. Well, why do you want to grow that? Well, I just want to, and a lot of times it's like, the why behind it is very important, I guess, is what I'd say. And the thing I love about the remodeling industry and just business in general is you can be successful in all sorts of different ways. You can build a $20 million business with 50 employees. You can build an $8 million, $4 million. You can be still, a solopreneur, and you're still swinging the hammer a bit, and you're as happy as a clam, and you just have a good backlog of work, and you go from thing to thing. There's so many different ways to do this.
What does success look like to you? And you said it a couple of times.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a challenge to every business owner, and it shifts. Like what I thought this was going to look like at first, what I was thinking 10 years ago, what I was thinking 5 years ago, what I'm thinking now. Now all of a sudden it's like, there's potential for me to sell this business in the future. That was not a thing 3 years ago. 97% of the revenue is coming through my beautiful voice and my coaching. Now all of a sudden that's shifting, and I can see, this is more of a sellable entity. Now all of a sudden I'm like, my son is doing student painters. He can sell. Maybe he's part of this business. My daughter Piper is super organized, and if I have retreats all around the country, I bet you if I needed somebody to organize the location and the food and note the allergy for this client and this and that, she'd be kick butt at that. So over the seasons, over time, like your business vision and goals could shift, but I think it's a good challenge. What is your vision right now for the next 5 years? What's your vision? It's okay if that shifts. What's not okay or what holds you back, I think, is not having it.
True. Where you're going.
Yeah.
How do you plan to get there if you have no vision?
That's right. We're just driving around.
driving around and probably complaining about it because you're not happy. You're not content.
Yes. Oh, content. The way you said that, it was almost like it was a positive thing.
No, and I appreciate it. That's why I love these conversations because most of the time I associate content with being a negative thing because people are just like, I explained it, but like when you can hear it from a different view, I'm like, oh, like I shivered for a different reason. I'm like, oh, he's content. Oh man, like there's no coaching a content person.
Yeah.
There's no helping. Like they're perfectly fine where they're at. I had this guy called me up and he sat through the meeting, asked me all these questions about working with me, and then I was asking him questions about where he wanted to grow, and he was like, I don't want to grow. I'm good with where I'm at. I'm like, so why are we having a conversation? Like, what do you want me to do? Do you want to just pay me to like hang out? Like, I don't know. What do you want? What do you want to happen?
Yeah, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
No, that is totally a thing for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what did we not cover that you wanted to cover, sir?
Dude, I think we were really good, and I know that you were wrapping up really well, and then I opened my mouth and finished. But no, I know we could keep this conversation going, but I know we talked about a time frame, and we're hitting that time frame. So
everybody, do you have sound effects that you put on this? Because I bet you everybody listening to this is going, oh, but it just felt like we were just warming up over the last hour and 10 minutes.
I literally feel like we could go deeper for sure. So to me, yeah, I think we did just warm up, but. To your point, like it's more conversations. Right?
So what was your takeaway from this chat?
One, I have a new definition for content. Like so. And I think for listeners listening in, one, getting a clarity and understanding, having an abundant mindset and having that clarity on who your target client is, as opposed to throwing a bunch of stuff and trying to serve everybody.
Yep.
I think that's the number one thing that people get caught up on. I love you've had a redundant theme of not redundant. You've had a theme of what does success look like for you? Because I think that it can get so easy to do that, get caught up in that comparison of like, Kyle's got this business over here and I got to do that in order to be successful and blah, blah, blah. But where am I happy? Where am I content at? And I think that answer varies for everybody. And I'm sure all your clients have a completely different answer.
Yeah. And there's I think it's, who is it? Teddy, I think it's a Teddy Roosevelt quote of comparison is the thief of joy. And comparison can be good. It can be encouraging. It can be motivating. It could be like, oh, well, if he's doing it, I can do it type thing. But it can also be absolutely a thief of joy. So it goes back to what do I want my business to look like and why? Not what I thought 10 years ago when I started this. That's totally different. But like, what am I building here? And why am I doing that? And then getting real clear with what that looks like, and then building that can really add some fuel to the fire.
So we'll end it with this because this is a really good question that we talked about at the beginning, like doing and the things that you learn from doing. You could read as many books as that are out there, and you're going to end up being more confused than anything if you don't do anything out of it. If you don't go take that action, what is the thing out of all these years? And there's probably several things, but is there something that you can think of to identify that would be like the most shocking for you that you've learned out of this, or that you like would have had no idea that you could have pictured where you're at?
Oh, interesting. Where I thought you were going with that versus the way you just ended it. I'm going to go with where I thought you were going with that. Of like, what's been the most I'll rephrase it or I'll paraphrase it of what's been the most interesting thing that you've done that kind of surprised you at the result of it.
Yeah,
there's another way of saying it. At least that's where I was going with it. I would say it's the consistent providing of value to your ideal client is the name of the game. Look how we can get cutesy in this. I can go on TikTok and do dances. It might be cute. It might get some consistently providing value to your ideal client week in, week out, month in, month out, year out, year out. When you create content, you think, is this actually providing value to my ideal client? It's going to be more and more important for us as business owners to do that authentically. That's going to cut through the clutter. That is still going to find it into the hands of your ideal client. And sometimes it's frustrating because you put things out and you don't see much in return, but you do that consistently over time. And that to me is the backbone of what I've been able to build, is because of that consistency over time. And my heart is truly, authentically, I want to help these people. I do love to make money. Yeah. I love to build. Like I've think I've built a pretty cool business and a nice business. And sometimes I like to look at that, but then pride and ego starts to come in, and I need to be a little bit more filled with humility than like, hey, look at what I've done. But at the core of it, when I strip it back down, it's like, okay, that's what it is. The reason that you've been able to do this for 18 years and you're still in business and people want to talk to you and people want to pay you to get advice and to get coaching and be around your kind of world is because you care about serving them and providing value to them. And I think that is universal for every business owner listening to this. Let's double down, let's triple down, you, me, everybody listening to this, on providing true, authentic value in serving your ideal client. That's a surprising, like that's the core of it, baby.
You know, it's so easy, but we make it so hard, right?
Yes. Oh, the other thing about that, sorry,
No,
because I said I had to leave a little bit ago, but I'm having too much fun. And literally it's mulch sitting for me at home. So I'm not really looking
You're talking about the 55 yards of mulch.
There is an errand I need to run for my wife. When I typed in this address, I was like, oh, this is over in South Lionish. I thought you were in Brighton, a little bit closer, but
I know we're right on the border.
That's why I was 40 seconds late, people. But the other thing that I love, like that is a good one. But the other one that's so simple is business is this. People have a specific problem and you solve that problem. What problems do you solve? Get super clear on, I solve this problem for this ideal client, and here's how I do it. And every time I see that pop up or read something, I'm like, oh, that's it. That's so much of it, of really identifying what is the problem for my ideal client and how do I solve it. And then you create content where you solve that and give them ideas on how to do that for free. Good things happen from that.
Making it easy. That was a nice bomb to leave people, because again, if they just follow that, it's so easy.
Yep. Yeah, business is easy, like you said.
Business is so easy. Not a struggle in day. Nope. Dude, Kyle, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for coming down and having this conversation and even going a little bit over for us.
It was all good. Thank you.
My pleasure.